All right, welcome back to episode 2 for this evening on what to do and what not to do, part 2. Now, if you ever reach the pinnacle of your career and you become the chief legal counsel, the head lawyer in house for a professional basketball team, one thing that I keep saying you should do is tell the truth. And if you are, for some stupid reason, going to lie about things and make things up and sit down with the person the complaint was about and just make up things and fabricate things, you should at least manufacture some documentation to go along with that. For example, and you should also make sure that the person you're talking about doesn't have documentation to back up what they're saying. And as I keep trying to tell everybody, because the Attorney General's office didn't do a thorough investigation, the Phoenix Suns and Mercury and their attorneys didn't know what documentation I had before they started putting things in writing and slandering my name and perjuring themselves in their depositions and all of that fun stuff. But one of my favorite lies in the 3 pages of lies that Miss Melissa submitted to the Attorney General's office, and I think Miss Kimberly, she may or may not have said this when she perjured herself in her depositions, but it was one of the 3rd or 4th reasons was I was fired because I didn't complete the performance improvement plan that I never should have been put on because there were no issues with my performance. And I have my quarterly review and my annual review to prove that, but they didn't know that at the time, so they just made things up. So if you are the head attorney, one thing you should always do is your due diligence. And if for some reason you're going to lie, you should make things up and present something that will substantiate the lies that you're telling. So for example, one of my favorite lies was I was fired because I didn't complete my PIP, which is a performance improvement plan. Now, we've already talked about why I got put on a PIP, because I got yelled at by a white female named Jessica McNeese. And then she went and lied about what happened. And then it turned into I yelled at her and I physically assaulted her at some point in time. The story just kept changing because she was lying. Also, this should have been on video, somewhere recorded, because you did a thorough investigation, right? Anyways, let's get back to Miss Melissa and Miss Kimberly, who said they fired me, terminated my employment because I didn't complete my PIP. And then they got specific and said I didn't complete the talent acquisition and recruiting plan, who, for the record, that wasn't my job. That should have been the job of the talent acquisition person, Elizabeth, who she didn't work with me and refused to speak with me because she didn't like me. So they put that on my plate because she didn't do her job. But that's neither here nor there. And then they said that I didn't do the learning and development plan, which also, that was not my job. I wasn't the learning and development person. I have that experience, but that was Joy's work that she should have completed. Now, we did work together. Joy, at the time, I thought was great. And we did work together and we did complete that. So why they lied about that, I don't know. But you know what I had? I had the email that I sent to Miss Kimberly when I completed all the work on the PIP, half of which I had never been spoken to about, and the other half was other people's work that she put on my PIP because, again, there was no issue with my performance. But for some reason, they lied about those 3 very specific things. I didn't complete my PIP, I didn't do the talent acquisition recruiting plan, and I didn't do the learning and development plan. But they didn't know that Andrea, me, had copies of the email that I sent to Miss Kimberly, and I also had copies of the learning and development plan and the talent acquisition and recruiting plan that they said I didn't do. Now again, I can't tell you what was on the minds of these people other than me feeling like just because of their money, their power, their connections, they didn't think that this would go this far. They didn't think I would file litigation. I don't know why they didn't, because my attorneys and I said I would. But I, telling the truth, wanted the Attorney General's office to complete their investigation, which they didn't do a thorough investigation. If you've been following along, you know that. And you know I'm going to talk about what you should and shouldn't do if you are a lead investigator working for the Attorney General's office. You know that's coming up next. So I'll just see you there. But again, more of the story, don't lie, tell the truth, and manufacture some documentation if you're going to lie, I guess.